Hi, welcome to today's morning session on anomaly detection. Our session is on anomaly detection, taking the error out of business. Our agenda will be anomaly and types, where and why, anomaly in time series, methods and challenges in anomaly detection methods. Then Juhi will take you through the SRCNN algorithm, and we'll have a couple of demos as well as references. Now imagine you have an organization that is able to monitor the ebbs and flows in its KPIs. Imagine if you are able to know when there is an anomaly, what is the underlying reason for the anomaly, what kind of architecture and what kind of algorithms would such an organization need. Hi, we are Ajay Ori. I'm a manager in data science team.
Hi everyone, this is Juhi and I'm part of data science team. And I like to apply maths, computer science, fundamentals, and statistics to wide spectrum of application.
Let's set some expectations. What we want to do is to help you understand why anomaly detection is important, how it can help you to improve your business, and secondly, the technical part, how the SRCNN algorithm can help you to detect anomalies in your data. What is anomaly after all? It is something which is a deviation from normal. There are three kinds of anomalies: point, contextual, corrective. A point anomaly is like a sudden spike in time. Contextual anomaly is something which is seasonal, and a collective anomaly is something which is missing in data. Let's take the business context of anomaly detection. Anomaly detection should be able to handle rapidly changing data. For example, if the data is showing sudden swings, ups and downs, it should be able to do that. It should monitor and analyze the data patterns to see why there are ups and downs. And it should be such a manner that the incidents do not go undetected. Not every metric in business is directly tied to money, but most metrics are tied to revenue in some or the other way. And we are very interested in revenue anomalies. Where and why are anomalies existing? In banking, for example, a credit card fraud is a kind of an anomaly, which is a negative event. In healthcare, an anomaly in your ECG or your blood test is the indication of a disease. In social media, an anomaly can be like a viral tweet, and so on and so forth. Let's talk about specifically something that we people in IT often are very familiar with. Let's talk about DevOps. Now, in DevOps, you detect anomalies in the logs, you detect anomalies in your metrics, you monitor why something happened or why something did not happen, you detect anomalies about data types, you have alert noise in which you have a lot of alerts, some of which may not be true alert. Now, let's take, suppose you have 50,000 data points about CPU utilization of a machine throughout the year. Now, some of them will be normal and some of them may be abnormal. The machine will find out what is abnormal by spike, but it is the human who will find that whether it is due to seasonal load, or let's say, like an example would be a sales promotion, or it could be something which is abnormal, which is something to be investigated.
Thanks, Ajay. So, hi everyone.
Now,
I'll take
yeah,
further from here.
Juhi will talk about this.
Yep. Thank you, Ajay. So, first, let me tell you why we have picked up this topic. Me and Ajay are working on an account where the ask was to detect anomalies in time series data. And we faced lots of challenges. Sometime we got stuck. So, what we thought to share our experience with everyone so that they can take benefit from our experience. So, for example, if someone asks you to detect anomaly, the first question that comes in our mind is how? How we can do that? So there are few machine learning methods, few statistical method. Using those method, we can detect anomalies. For example, machine learning method have DB scan. It's a clustering algorithm based on density, and as per this, it groups the data into a cluster and says if any data points is not part of the cluster is an anomaly. For example, tree-based method. So tree-based method, like they define a region and say if any data points are not the part of that defined region are the anomalies. Statistical method like z-score method. So z-score method is based on moving average, or standard deviation. That says if any data points are not within one standard deviation or two or three standard deviation are anomalies. And visual method, like you can use IQR, box plot, histogram. So there are lots of method available to detect anomalies. But what we have observed that we could not use these methods because we were facing some challenges with our data. So what are those? So there were three challenges when we were working on the problem. What we realized that we do not have label data, the lack of label. We did not have a good amount of historical data to train our model. And we wanted our method to be generalized method so that it can detect anomalies. It can detect all kind of anomalies, right? And the third problem, the third challenge that we were facing is efficiency. That everyone wants that method to be efficient as per quality, speed, and result, and cost effective as well. So if we tried to use those machine learning and statistical method, we were still facing these challenges, and it was important us to resolve these challenges. So what to do now? So we found a novel approach, a newly launched algorithm, newly launched by Microsoft. In history, it's the first time when anyone tried this unique combination. SR, that is spectral residual, and CNN, that is convolution neural network. So let me tell you that we decided to use this algorithm, but why? Why we thought to use SR-CNN algorithm? Because first, we were facing lack of label data issue. So SR-CNN says, hey, if you do not have label data, no issue, I can help you. Second, it has good capability of generalization, right? It can detect any kind of anomalies in the data. Third, efficient. It is an efficient algorithm. It is fast, it is accurate, and it is cost effective, right? So now till this point, we have decided, yes, we are going to use SRCNN method. But wait, how we can use it? How does it work? So let's go through few initial terms, few basic building blocks of SRCNN. First is visual saliency detection. Visual saliency is something that stands out in image. What is the most prominent part in an image? What is the most noticeable part in an image? That called visual saliency. So for human, for us, our visual system is capable of detecting these most prominent part of an image, and it is more reliable and accurate and fast as well. But this is not the same case with machine. So for example, you can see there are two image of car, this one and this one is the similar image, but like it is telling you the most prominent part of this car. So how machine can detect this part? Using this spectral residual, SR. So what it does, it takes this image as an input and applies some mathematical calculation and produce this output. This is nothing but called saliency map. Saliency map has the most prominent part of the image, right? So let's go through how this SR works. So it's very simple algorithm, spectral residual. It consists of 3 steps. First, don't go through the text, just listen me. It first calculates the Fourier transformation of the input data. So for example, if we have a time series data, it takes this data as an input and apply Fourier transformation on it and read the frequency domain data. So basically what does it do? Fourier transform, change the domain from time to frequency. And on this step, it calculates the spectral residual. And after getting the spectral residual, it apply inverse Fourier transform that transform the sequence back to the spatial domain, to the time series domain. And at this stage, what it does, it calculates the anomaly score. What is it? Anomaly score is nothing. It's a relative difference between saliency maps value and its moving average. And whenever a threshold, whenever a anomaly score is above than a threshold. Threshold is something like a hyperparameter. We need to decide what could be the threshold. So if any anomaly score crosses that limit, crosses that threshold, can be considered as an anomaly. So we have completed SR part of SRCNN. So let's go through the CNN part. If you are not from the AI domain, it is a very weird term. It's just like weird combination of biology and math. So let me give you a high level detail about the CNN. Here you can say the image. For human, this is a smiley image, but machine takes this image as a form of matrix, number of matrix. So what does CNN do? CNN is a deep learning architecture. It is combination of few layer like input layer, output layer, and hidden layer. And what it does, it takes input as an image, and that image is a combination of number in a form of matrix, and passes through different layer and produce the output, whether, for example, it is a cat, so whether it is a cat or not. It classify an image. So let me give you just a high level overview of these layers. For example, this is a convolution layer. Convolution layer is nothing but it has convolving filter that gets applied to an image to detect the part of image like edge of an image, object in an image, etc. And this layer passes this image to the pooling layer. What does pooling layer do? Pooling layer is nothing like but just it reduce the size of image that it gets from the convolution layer. And then finally image gets passed through the dense layer and it produces the output, whether it was a cat or not. In our case, it tells whether any data point is an anomaly or not. So we have gone through SR part and CNN part. So let's see how they work together. I hope you will able to understand by seeing this. This is the time series input. What it does, spectral residual takes this time series data as an input, do some calculation based on a spectral residual and generate the saliency map, right? This is, I will add one point here. At this step, what this algorithm does, it generates synthetic data based on this anomalous data. And our CNN model gets trained on that synthetic data to achieve significant performance enhancement over SR model to give us the accurate result. So this is the complete flow chart of SRCNN algorithm. So now we already know what are the benefits of SRCNN algorithm. It is efficient, it is generalized, it can be possible if we do not have labeled data. The problem become much easier based on the output of SR model. And last, we can train our CNN model on SR output directly using fully synthetic data with simple synthetic rule. Like there are few packages available in Python. If we are using Python, we can generate synthetic data. So now here the demo parts come. I'll go through the demo. I'll show two things here. One, initially we have applied a z-score technique, that is a statistical technique. I will go through that part and then I will show the SRCNN. So here you can see, this is the chart. You will see two charts here, right? First chart is Z based on z-score. I will tell you, this blue line is our value, is the time series data. And what we have done, we have applied z-score on this data, and z-score provided us upper limit that is in green and a lower limit that is in red. So whenever our blue data points crosses these limit, so those data points can be considered as anomaly, right? It was working well, but what happened suddenly during the seasonality part, what we have realized, method is not much accurate while classifying anomaly. As you can see, this is the seasonality part. And what we have expected, we expected to get some high value data point during this period of time, right? But wait, what it does? it classified this low value data point as an anomaly. This is not correct, right? This can be an anomaly, but these 3 dot cannot be an anomaly as per the seasonality. So what Z-score is doing, it is trying to adjust its upper and lower limit after few data points. This is not good. This is not accurate, right? So what does SRCNN do here? You can simply see. It ignores, it considers seasonality as well. It only classifying this high value data point as an anomaly and the lower one. So in this case, it is more accurate. It is not classifying other data points that are not anomaly. And I would like to add one more positive point or advantage of SRCNN here. What it does. See, if you have a high dimensional data and the ask is to detect anomaly, but what if you want to know more, if you want to drill down further, that what other features are there that those are causing that anomaly, those are causing any data point to be an anomaly. So we would like to know that, right? We want to know their contribution towards that anomaly. So what it is telling, it is showing us possible explanation. For example, it's a dummy data, it's a parseling company data. So you can see this anomaly. There are one segment, that is type segment 2, and product type 3 and product type 6 are causing this anomaly. And you can see the strength, the percentage contribution towards this anomaly. I think what I found most useful here is if we know the strength, if we know the contribution, it will help us in decision making, right? If these anomalies are helping us to improve our revenue, right? So we would like to know behind this anomaly, what happened that day we got this anomaly, right? So that we can take decision in future on that basis. So these possible explanation will help us in that sense. So one way is to use SRCNN is via using Power BI. One is there is Azure API available online. You can just go there, upload your data, and it will give you the anomalies in your data. It's a real time. You can detect abnormalities in your data. And so it is a RESTful API, so you can easily integrate in your application to use this. So the contribution of SRCNN. So when Microsoft launched it, what they have done, they have tested this algorithm on different data set, and they found that the F1 score is nothing, just to know the how accurate your model is classifying everything. So F1 score is improved by more than 20% on Microsoft production data. And from the practical perspective, we already know that it's a good at generalization, it is efficient, and it can work without label data. And last but not the least, this technique has enabled product teams to move faster in detecting issues, save manual effort. How? Because we do not need to label every data point manually. It is cost effective here, and accelerate the process of diagnostic. So what next? So see, like we can use SRCNN using Power BI and using API, Azure API, but security is the concern and you want to tweak that algorithm as per your requirement. There is SRCNN code API available. It's freely available on GitHub, and you can get code from there and you can tweak important parameter and you can build a custom application, I can say. Finally, what next is in the future, what Microsoft are planning, they plan to ensemble the state-of-the-art methods together like SRCNN and other methods to provide more robust anomaly detection technique and service. So this is the link to our demo and these are the references. So basically, what is the main takeaway I can say if you are in the situation where the ask is to detect anomaly in time series data, and you are facing three challenges, like you do not have labeled data, you do not have good amount of historical data, generalization is the key important thing, and if you want your method to be efficient, I would suggest to use SRCNN. Just give it a try. It will definitely help you. It will help you in even decision making. Thank you. Now we are open to question.
So we are seeing few questions coming in. Ajay, Juhi, that was a wonderful conversation. So the first one I see here is SRCNN an open source algorithm?
Yes, it is open source algorithm. It is freely available on GitHub, and this deck has that link.
Okay, and is it only useful in time series data, or can be used for other stuff as well?
As of now, it is only for time series.
What, according to you, what will be the four core pillars of anomaly detection work in data refinery?
So I can say, like what we have observed, that four pillar, I can say accuracy. It should more accurate. The methodology we are trying to build should be more accurate, and it should not only detects the anomaly, it should help us in decision making as well, and the efficiency and the generalization, I would say.
And when you say anomalies, will there be a difference between anomalies and outliers, or will it consider everything similar?
See, both are same. The anomaly and outlier are both are the same thing. But what I have observed personally, that every anomaly is not the bad point, not the sign of bad thing, right? Because I just mentioned sometime something different happen and that was useful to increase our revenue, right? And that can be an anomaly. So anomaly is an outlier. We need to identify whether it is useful or not, and we should go behind. We should drill down that anomaly further while decision making.
So is SRCNN working for multiplicative time series as well, where anomaly amplifies with time?
Yeah, it works for all time series. In fact, the Azure Anomaly API was built over millions of time series.
And what's the minimum requirement to run SRCNN for the data?
In Power BI, what happens is you need to have, it does not connect to SQL database. It's a preview feature. So you need to import it and then run it. But for Azure Anomaly API, there is no minimum requirement. You can simply connect to the API using Python and score the data.
And if this is a deep learning technique, Ajay, will it not need a GPU? If yes, and then how would it be faster?
We are not sure if it needs a GPU. It's a combination of simple learning and a deep learning. I have used the SR algorithm on my own Mac machine regarding using SR CNN through the API. You don't need to use it because it is an API. Okay, so it's running through the API.
Okay. And can it work on multi-product time series? I mean, time series for different multiple products for any organization?
I think so.
Yes.
It has been it's been tested over multiple time series.
Yes.
Okay, so the previous one, which was ONNX, was Open Neural Network Exchange. Does it work with that?
We don't know. Sorry.
Sagar is checking. We spoke about outliers and anomalies. Sagar is saying outliers could also be false negatives. Does it take that into consideration?
Yes, it is taking.
Are clients okay to use this on their data? Is it easy to sell this out to them? How difficult is it for you?
It's not difficult to use it on client data. That much we can tell you. Clients appreciate anomaly detection as a method first, regardless of the algorithm. So anomaly detection is a very widespread use case. Secondly, SRCNN being a very efficient algorithm is widely appreciated. So the better the method it is, the more easy it is for us to sell. For example, the Z-score method is something that we used with the client, and we are aware of its shortcoming, and we are just waiting for the Power BI to upgrade itself, or but sometimes the client may not be so ready to use the Azure Anomaly API. So then that is something that may be a factor.
But as an API, we've seen positive responses.
Yeah, they've seen Power BI. They've seen positive response.
Are there any other methods used for anomaly detection on a time series data?
Yes, there are multiple methods. We showed two to you, that Z-score and SRCNN. There are other things like isolation forests, SVM. I think it was shown in the slide, which had machine learning and statistical methods. By the way, that's the answer: machine learning and statistical methods. So that those methods were there.
Can it be also used without Power BI with Pandas or Matplotlib?
Yes, we have used SR with just Python, and we have been trying out SR CNN with just Azure Anomaly API.
How would this validate the results if in case you don't have any labels for large amount of data?
I think inspection of the results, you can look at the results and you can look at how the results are compared to the previous time series and previous data. So that visual inspection as well as statistical inspection shows if it's an anomaly or not.
Hema, I have an interesting question, Ajay, and I think it kind of resonates with me. So she's saying that when it comes to places like a medical scenario, medical data, right? When it comes to decision making, will SRCNN be giving a very high precision responses, or will it revert to a recall?
No, the answer is it is up to you. The sensitivity is up to you to determine what level of anomalies you put. So sensitivity is a hyperparameter that you give. There are other hyperparameters also. And again, it's also on the test, for example. For example, if it is a test for detecting diabetes, then you need a different sensitivity. And if it is a test for detecting cancer or HIV, then you need a different sensitivity. So all medical data basically deals with is numbers, and those numbers are either in line within a certain range, they're okay. And if they're out of a certain range, that means disease is indicated.
Any last, have you compared SR Prophet as well?
We have not compared SR CNN with Prophet. I have done forecasting methods for and compared for anomaly detection, and forecasting methods generally suffer from overfitting.
Okay, last question, and I'll pick this one up for you, Ajay. How do we verify the outputs from this method for accuracy?
What we do is we look at the anomalies, the number of anomalies, and the point at which it is anomalous. And we compare it with the previous year data or historic data, or we look at with other methods. And if it is looking within in sync, then it's fine. For example, Juhi compared the Z-score anomalies, and she showed that those three anomaly points they were not anomalous, but they were being shown as anomalous. And in SRCNN, they were not showing anomalous. So you have to have a bit of manual inspection as well as some looking at time series data to see if it was efficient or not.
Okay, I think that was very useful. Thanks again, Ajay, Juhi.